after sunset. So I was hoping to catch the sunset, but I ran into a little snag along the walk. So the infamous Magic Garden, Gardens, by the French artist Isaiah something or other. I forget now. I used to know his name by heart, but it's been so many years that I've sort of, my brain's been erased a little bit because of whatever began in 2011. Whoever had to sort of fix it, I think, decided that it was time for the spotless mind erasure time. So I don't have the same vernacular lexicon vocabulary because it could sort of attract or bring in certain things that we need to leave behind. They will never grow up. They will always be Toys R Us kids. And it's time to be moving on. Adopt a whole new persona, if you will. Like they say, Madonna had to keep reinventing herself, probably because she got a lot of flack all the time. So everyday people have to do that too. We want this way. I'm gonna zigzag my way back home. I wanted to pick up some arugula to whip up an arugula salad with cashews, nutritional yeast, and olive oil. Tastes so good. It's one of my favorite things. It's really, you make it into a spread. I put it on sandwiches and stuff, but you could just eat it plain, and you still get all your green. You get a lot of greens in, basically, by doing that. Should we go down? I can't stand ramen. Should we go down? That's ramen. I'll go this way. Something like being a little bit honest. So, we all sort of grow up a certain way and learn certain things, maybe. We have certain experiences. Some people's way of being raised is a little bit more intentional and orchestrated than others. And people, it's hard to get away from that sort of training. I was about to say brainwashing, but in a way, everybody's brainwashed to an extent. Like, we all learn something growing up, and we believe it to be 100% true for the world, and then you get out into the big world and realize other people live by other truths, and so forth and so on. Anyway, glad I didn't grow up in an intentional community, because I know what freedom feels like, to have that free-spirited feeling. Not everyone knows what that's like, because they're constantly desperately needing to control or be intentional, or they think that they're supposed to educate people. I've met some people, they grew up in intentional communities, and they think that they're supposed to, as if it's their job to educate others. And it's like, well, who made you the person with all the rules that work in the world? You know what I mean? Like, who taught them? You see what I mean? Other people could turn around and teach the teachers, since the teachers weren't that great to begin with. So, that kind of thing. So intentional people, or people who grow up in intentional communities, think that they know everything. And then they go around sort of bestowing their self-righteous ideals upon people who have had very specific histories, of which they know nothing about, and they're harming people. These intentional people who have never experienced free-spiritedness. So sad. Philly has a lot of those people. Everything has to be intentional. Halloween. can't wait. Alright, so here we come up to Effie's, and a lot of sophomore men will actually take their first date to Effie's. You get it? This used to be Aroma, and you know how women are usually a little bit insecure about how they come across? So can you imagine taking your first date to Effie's, being some sophomore retard of a guy, and Aroma is right across the street? So, and Effie's does have a phallic symbol, lest us not forget, with that white column there in the middle. It's an Ionic column, part of Greek, whatever you call it, architecture and so forth and so on. And you know, the Greeks, I'm pretty sure they're pretty fertile, so a virile or whatever you call it, I don't know what the exact word is. Try to be good. Try to be my best behavior. So what can I say? This has been a popular restaurant for many, many years. Mixed 2. It's still here. It's never closed down, even during hard times. So I'm a little bit amazed. I used to work here. This is used to be a gay bookstore, LGBT, Giovanni's Room. They maintained it to a degree, but it's now AIDS Thrift. So I was here many moons ago for the bookstore, when it was a bookstore. They do sell a lot of books still. They get a lot out there. So Giovanni's Room, an icon in the neighborhood. If you want to get your thrift on, they have some really cool styles for a lot less than you would pay the man online or through, you know, Cyber Monday, Black Friday, and so forth and so on. It has been a mission of many people to stop feeding that sort of system. You know, if you're willing to put on, you know, wear secondhand clothing, there's always Buffalo Exchange, which we had in Philadelphia. So I've had my fair share of thrift shopping. The only downside is I have come across some people who stopped thrift shopping because they started to like either experience weird things or they worried about attachments. So it's like, of course, usually when you get something, you wash it. If you buy it from a thrift store, a secondhand store, you wash it, and then you sort of, it becomes your own over time as it's in your own home with your own aromas and your own energy and essence. But I have heard some people talk about being worried about attachments, almost like in a voodoo, witchcraft, or ghostly way. Like, what if there's an attachment with the clothing and you start not feeling well and it turns out it's your clothing? So normally for me that would be a hard thing to believe. Other than, we all know that when you kind of come across clothing that might have a stale